Hey Aqua Pals, today's, let's see, Wednesday, March 27, 2024, and this is Tank I, like India or Indigo, so I guess these are my Indigo children. And what I mean by that is these are kind of the lost boys of my hobby for more than one reason. So this is a little 5-gallon, filterless, heated, otherwise, really simple, ultra low tech tank. So, what do I mean by that? First off, it doesn't have its own light, it receives ambient lighting from the room and the system around. It does have a heater. That's not really necessary this time of year. It's the end, I mean, we're in the beginning of spring, so meh, it's a little bit chilly outside, but there was just a large change to this tank. And I guess I'll just show you what that was. So if we look over here, this is a Chinese evergreen. It's not a huge one, but it's not a small one either. And so this thing is, I don't know, 2 feet across. This plant was growing from this tank until about 20 minutes ago. And I removed it because this tank was very shaded by that plant. And it kept me from being able to visibly see what's going on in the tank, from being able to see how many fish are in here. I'm actually shocked at how many guppies are in here. So I told you these are kind of my lost boys. Let me tell you about that. And I'm not trying to be sexist, it's just that the males are the ones that I was specifically trying to breed. So we can see they're kind of an orange, flamey. These, I call them flame guppies. They're, they originated here at my house a number of years ago. And 2022, they won an Arkansas Best of Show award for fish breeding and fish show. And so not only did they win Best Guppies, they won Best of Show. Yay. And somewhere around here, there's, oh, you know what? There's their ribbon. Might not be able to see it too well. Boom. Best of Show. So that was from specifically these Gups. And sorry for my reflection there. It's just going to be there because there's a window behind me. And creepy, right? That's from Giving Blood back in Halloween times. So, looking in here, this is like a line breed. These are mostly pure gups that I've been working with for 4 to 5 years, and they left my house with the 55-gallon tank A. I call it A now. At the time, it was not tank A. It was, I think, actually it was tank E. I said in the video last night it was tank F. It used to be tank Echo. And it's my North American, Central America tank. And guppies, while they are, we think, native to South America, they occur well up through Central America, and actually even into areas of like Idaho and New England that they have now naturalized. Now, we don't say that they're from Idaho or New England. That's not why this is there. I'm saying that they're part of a North American, Central America being part of North America, right? Even though it's on the other side of Mexico, that's North America. Even though people from the United States are like, what? Yeah, that's North America, I promise. All the way down to Colombia is North America. And then when the South American continent opens up, that's South America. But that narrow bridge of land between North and South America, which we call Central America, is indeed part of North America. And that's just kind of an alien concept to many of my fellow Americans here in the United States. And I also think it's kind of weird that people in the United States don't consider people from North and South America as Americans. It just strikes me as odd. I don't know why, but it strikes me as odd. So, whatever. It's just, maybe it's just myopia or something. But let's talk about this tank. These guppies left here after I had developed this strain, and when I got the tank back, there were only like 2 of these males. So I had to find appropriate females from that same tank, catch them, separate them off, place them over here in this little 5-gallon tank, and begin the breeding process again. Now this guy here, he's not one of those. However, he's in there to give them a little bit of genetic diversity. He's similar, he does actually have a little bit of orange, but he's not one of these, right? He's not one of these. And sorry for the focus problem, but there are, let's see, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like there are only 4 or maybe 5, 6 males in here that have colored up and that I can identify as being a part of this lineage. And the rest, I'm gonna say, I don't know, there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, maybe 40 guppies in here, counting the fry juveniles. And that's not really a problem in a heavily planted natural substrate tank. And prior to a moment ago, you might look at this and go, that's not heavily planted. Well, when it had that in there, it was a heavily planted tank. Like, that's a whole lot of plant biomass to offset this little bit of animal biomass, right? But there's been a dramatic change to this tank now. And that dramatic change is the removal of most of the plant biomass. So it still has one plant growing up above here. This is a Mexican petunia, but you know, actually I'm not sure what kind of skull that is. I'm going to say it's either armadillo or possum or raccoon, but I think it's probably an armadillo skull. I think it is an armadillo. And my son found that behind our house in the woods. And I was like, Dad, can I keep it? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, fine. So it was actually hanging out in our display curio cabinet for a while. And then when we began setting this tank up, he asked me if he could put that in there. And I was like, sure, why not? So now we have a little Anubias that I see has become detached. Actually, this little plant I just put in here like earlier today, and it didn't stick. So maybe I can find a different spot on said skull that it will stick. Maybe not. I might have to work with this for a while, and that's okay. It looks like it's growing outward that way, and whatever. It's probably not gonna stick. And then there's this little what is this? It's a Buse or an Anapetite Anubias. I think it is another Anubias, but that one was actually sticking in there pretty well prior to me digging down in here with the other stuff. And this one, yeah, it's just, it might require some additional effort. And so far I have not gotten an E for effort on that. I got an F for failure. But let's talk about this little tank. It's got a number of grasses. So it's got a hair grass. That was actually just a purchased store-bought hair grass, and I pulled off one of the pieces and put it over here because I wanted to put my eggs in multiple baskets. So it's mostly planted elsewhere, but I put one little sprig over here, and then it was shaded out by that giant Chinese evergreen, didn't grow very much. A couple of other grass types. This one is unidentified. Like, I actually don't know what these 2 bits of grass are, but they're quite lovely. They were given to me. I think I got these from my friend Scott McKinnon, and he just brought some plants by one day along with some shrimp. He was like, here you go, have some stuff. And I was like, yeah, cool, here you go, have some stuff. Back in that area, what do we have? Like, that might be a Buse next to a Java fern, and I think this was a little stargrass clipping, kind of center screen, that was growing basically back in the back, and it was getting kind of tall, and it's the piece I cut it from, you can see it's kind of back there. It was not doing great. Remember I said this was totally shaded out by that giant Chinese evergreen, and Yeah, so it's not like this has a light above it, but it's just not like its own dedicated light. So I also can't really claim that this is just ambient lighting. There's a little bit of Java moss in here that I pulled out of actually the tank right behind it. So that's a 27-gallon cube roughly, and that's a convict tank that just, they pull all the stuff, like everything up and out of the tank, the substrate rather, and whatever. The plants that are in that tank that are surviving, like, cool. There's a view of my pots and pans hanging up above the kitchen. But so yeah, I'm in my foyer right now. This is an area. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks sitting out here. I'm not really gonna show them all right now. They're in other videos, but yeah, I've got 3 of these little 5-gallon tanks. One of them is my frog tadpole tank, which is directly on the other side of this tank. It's just like, well, whatever, I'll show you. 5-gallon over there, 5-gallon over here. And then in my guest bathroom, I've got another 5-gallon tank. That's kind of another lost, forgotten little tank, because it's just a little tank that doesn't get a lot of visibility because it has stuff stacked around it. And quite honestly, this tank usually has this potted plant sitting right here, and there's another thing right here. It's an avocado plant, some peppers that are sprouting up for springtime. But those usually sit up in this area and block the view of this. Until today, there was a hang-on back filter. I actually just moved it. It was just sitting here. It's not being used, and you can see it's rated for 55. So we definitely aren't going to put that in a 5-gallon. And actually, that's my handwriting, it looks like. Weird. I thought Sandy wrote that, but that certainly looks like my handwriting. So that's one that's like old. It's not being used, but it's just sitting there because sometimes I actually, when I'm filling tanks, sometimes I just set one of these here, pour it into the hang-on back, and let that kind of spill over, and that's one of my ways of softly filling tanks. So it kind of moves around with me sometimes, but for a while it was just sitting here on the face of this tank, and then it had stuff out here, and then a big Chinese evergreen plant like dominating this area. So this was kind of a dark hole, and it didn't really get a lot of light. It didn't get a lot of visibility. And when I pulled that Chinese evergreen out, I was kind of shocked how many fish are in here. It pleasantly surprised me. So this tank, it's not really about the plants, it's about the guppies. And most of my tanks really aren't like that. So yeah, it has plants in it, but they're just there. They're not really, this is not an aquascape, it's just a thing. My 8-year-old son actually did the aquascaping here, so kudos, Beaster. I don't know what else I could really tell you about this tank right now, other than I'm excited to get this strain going again. I'm hoping to probably start pulling some of the fish out of this tank, put them into a larger tank, and have increase this breeding exercise, and probably even try to cross some other genetic diversity into it, so it's not a very narrow gene pool. We have problems when we have narrow gene pools, right? When we have like cross-eyed kitty cats and people that can't speak correctly, things like that. When you have inbreeding going on, and I'm sorry if if that was a little too close to home for some people, but it's a well-known, documented thing, and I wasn't trying to be offensive. I'm just saying problems arise when there's inbreeding, and that whether it's with humans, kitty cats, or fish, I'm trying to avoid that problem in my life. You don't have to. I'm trying to avoid it in my life. So, yeah, major changes to this little aquarium, so I'm documenting it, right, and sharing it. And then we'll be able to look back on this in the future, or if you came from the past, you're looking at it in the future. and the future is now, and tomorrow will be the present tomorrow, and that's just awesome. Time is crazy. For now, if you enjoy this sort of thing, give me a like, subscribe, share. If you'd like to talk about it, drop some comments, and I'll catch you down there. Until then, adios, and I'll catch you next time.